Test. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. Very good evening to all of you. Thank you for coming. So today I will be giving a talk titled Malaysia Wacky, Wonderful Journey. My name is Syed Ahmad Fati. You can just call me Fati. So I don't have any PhD or even master degree. So I'm just a postgraduate student from USM. So I hope all of you already have a good lunch. Yes, already all are full. So this will be a good bedtime story for you. Just kidding. At the end of the session, we'll have some quiz. So you have to pay attention to get some prizes. Just a brief agenda on what I'm going to talk about today. I'll be giving some brief introduction first about myself, because I also don't know you, you also don't know me. So and then you maybe start asking who is him and something like that. So and then some background of the talk, some icebreaking session where I will maybe ask some question for you, with you, so that I'm not talking here alone, and I know that there's a living human being in this hall. And then I will be touching on some historical aspect of Malaysian history. But Malaysian history is actually quite long. There's a classical ancient kingdom, and then there's a pre-modern time, modern time, and you have also Malaysian Chinese, Malaysian Indian, Euro-Asian history, economic history. So it's too long, so I just pick some aspect of Malaysian history. But I will also be introducing some of the good books that I think if you want to pursue a little bit for yourself, and you can read by yourself. And then before we end, I'll be showing some video presentation. It's not actually by me, it's from the Ministry of Tourism. So and then at the end we'll have some quiz. So this is my background. So I was born here in 1990 at Hospital Kuala Lumpur. So anybody from Hospital Kuala Lumpur 1990? Same batch with me? No? Same baby batch? No? Okay, so and then I went to St. Petersburg, Russia, to study marine engineering. So I graduated in 2013, a few years back. After that, I'll continue my study with Institute of Chartered Shipbroker, and then managed to survive and get advanced diploma in ship operation and management in 2017. I also am a professional member of the institute, but that is more on the working side of me. And then after some time, I have a midlife crisis. I entered USM in 2022 to pursue Master of Art in Southeast Asian History. And after I enrolled with USM, I wrote several articles and then published a book about history in 2024 with a local publisher, China. It's called Homo Historicus. And then I also published various academic articles in the Journal of History and Archaeology. Although I was born here, I'm not living in KL because for me KL is too packed for me. I like a less stressful life, so I migrated to Sungai Petani, Kedah, and live with my wife there. So because of life choices and because of love. Anybody from Kedah here? Oh, okay. Maybe we will meet again at Kedah. So for icebreaking sessions, maybe I would like to hear some of your thought, your response, or maybe you want to share something on what does Merdeka means to you, and maybe you have some memorable or interesting experience that you want to share with your colleague about Merdeka, or maybe you have some nostalgia during kids or went to parade or something. So just to make it more interesting, so the answer that I find most interesting, so I'll be the jury here. So if you don't agree, then it's my choice. The most interesting sharing that I find, I will be giving these free books, but it's in Malay. So if you cannot read Malay, you can sell it to your Malay colleague and then use that money to karaoke or watch movies. So anyone want to share? No one? Okay. Anybody? Oh, you all look very stressful, huh? This session is will not impact your performance or KPI, so don't worry. No wrong answer here. Any takers? Eh? No? We have some volunteers. Independent. Maybe you want to share some nostalgia you have? Or you don't have any?
I don't have any.
So you haven't celebrated Merdeka before?
I didn't went for the parade, but I always watch it on TV.
Okay, for me, nostalgia would be when everyone used to put the flags on the cars, because I don't really see that much anymore like I did back then. Yeah.
Maybe because we are more conscious of the environment.
Yeah.
We throw away the flag, right?
Yeah.
Any more sharing? Yeah, I think that's a good sharing lah. I also remember when I was kids, I always eager to buy that small flag and put in the kancil that we have, so that our car have a national flag. So anybody else want to share? At the back? No? Okay, so maybe the winner is our lady here. Congratulations. Okay, maybe some sharing lah, some personal stories before we went to the boring part of the talk. So actually, why I enrolled in the historical research field is because I have a father. My father used to tell me a lot of stories. So whenever we went back to our kampung in Perak, also anybody want from Perak? Oh, we have Perak. From Perak, both my parents from Perak. So whenever we went back to kampung, my father will tell, oh, who is this? This is your cousin's mother's cousin. It's very complex, extended families. So I never bother about remembering any of that relation. But after my father passed away in February 2020, I think before COVID, so my father didn't have that experience of locking in the house because of COVID. He passed away before that, and then after that I felt that I never really know or understand the history of my family. So from there, I took an initiative to do some research on my own family background, family history. What does my grandmother doing when she was young? And I found a lot of interesting things. I will share some with you. But I feel that it's not enough because I didn't know the correct way of doing history. So there must be a formal method or correct way of you want to do this kind of research. So I enrolled in USM. Actually at first they didn't allow me to enter the program because I'm from a different field. They said, oh, you are from engineering, it's too far from the humanities, you cannot come in. But but I appealed that decision, and finally they said, oh, because you are too stubborn, we give you an interview lah. They give me an interview, and then I have to pass one preliminary course. After that, they took me in lah. So I'm right now a full student with USM. And part of this journey that I have, personal journey, I recorded in that book lah. That book is part of it is my personal journey. Okay, so when I do the digging, right, to understand my history, this is what I found. This is my grandmother's school certificate in 1938. So this is before the Japanese came to our country and occupied the peninsula of Malaya. So you can see the paper is quite old, and it's already, when you touch it, it will break straight away. Right? So I scan it to digitize it so that it will preserve in a digital form. But I still have the physical form. So actually you can learn a lot from just one document. So because previously I have a misunderstanding about my grandmother. I thought that she was illiterate, she cannot read, but that's not true. Actually, she went to school. So this is her certificate, and then you can also see what does the girl study during that time. So you can see there laundry and ironing. That is the subject in the school. Do you have any subject laundry and ironing in your school? Don't have, huh? And then housewifery, cookery, and needlework. So my grandmother passed all except the needlework. So maybe she don't like to sew. So the document already 87 years old. So in 13 years time, it will be 100 years old. So my grandmother's name is Anda Jijah binti Haji Selai. So the date that she graduated is 28 September 1938. Okay, so maybe you will be asking, so why study history? Actually, history is because we tend to have a not correct view of history, because when we study history at school is very boring subject, just reading and then just memorizing, and then during the exam just write back what we already read in the note in our textbook, right? But history actually is very interesting. So I want to introduce you with these small books. What is history? So this book actually already out of print, so you cannot find it anywhere. But I think there's a new one published by Penguin. They do it a nice one, a nice modern new one. My one is a very old one. So it's actually not a book written conventionally. It's a lecture by Carr, and then they collect the lecture notes, and then they edited it to become a single book. So Carr said that history actually is not about fact, because sometimes when we read about history, we tend to understand history as a fact, factual things. History must be based on facts, but actually there's a lot of facts there. You cannot combine or select all the facts into a history book. You must select and omit some. Some will get into the history book, some will get out. So actually, who decide what will be in and what will be out? The historian. So Carr said that the fact cannot speak for itself. It needs a historian to select that fact. So whenever we study history, actually we also need to study the historian, because that historian will play a significant role on how history is being written. Not just he as a person, also the social condition, the environment condition that he was on will affect how that history is written. So for example, if you read a British history during the time of British Empire as the peak, you will find that history is a very great thing, have some mission, we have to civilize the world, we want to make the world better. But if you read the history book of the British history, at the end of the empire, it will be more pessimistic type of history. History doesn't mean anything or something like that. Because it's also depend on the historical time of the historian. Okay, maybe I need to go. And then, what is the function of history? So, Carr said that it's a dual function. So, we want to understand the past. For example, I want to understand what my grandmother was taught in the school, right? And then, to use that knowledge to master our own society. So, from that knowledge, we can then see what are the relation with maybe today's teaching, on what is the different, what is the development, what is the changes. So history has dual function. We want to understand the past, and also we want to use that knowledge to better our own society. So okay, this is one common note that I want to share with you. So sometimes when we say history, people understand it as a static field, meaning that it's not changing. So, and then people will say, you cannot change history, right? Have you heard that? We cannot change history. So I actually enrolled in historical research because I want to change history. Because actually you can. You wrote history, then it will be a different history, your own history, right? So because history actually is evolving and changing. Why? Because we have new facts. We look at the same, maybe the same fact, but different perspective, different angle, different analysis. So all of that change the historical narrative, the historical story. So actually, if you understand history in that sense, it will become more interesting lah. Become more interesting, and it's like an ocean waiting for a new explorer to sail this water. So I think you all should also be exploring your history lah. There's one article that I find interesting by Syed Hussein Al-Attas about intellectual imperialism, because sometimes whenever some Westerner or people, foreigner do some research in Malaysia, they discover something, some manuscript, we tend to wow, there's a very interesting things in Malaysia. But actually you also can do the same thing, but we didn't do it. So actually sometimes the interesting things are all around us, but it's not discovered because we didn't do it. Sometimes it's just a simple thing. For example, we have a lot of orang asli kampung here. Maybe if some foreigner or Mat Saleh came, they live with the orang asli for 1 year and then wrote something, or it would be a great thing. But we also can do it. It's just maybe 1 kilometer drive from our place in Gombak, for example. Yeah, we can do it actually. Okay, I want to give one example. Do you know what is that? Anyone? Anyone? No idea? No? Never saw that one in Facebook or no? So this is actually I think the first human-sized Buddha statue that is found in Kedah, in Yan, Bukit Coras. Oh, you never read about this one? Oh, they do some research, but it's not well known. So it was found by Dr. Nasha. Dr. Nasha right now is already associate professor, I think. So they found the Buddha statue that is older than Angkor Wat. It's in Kedah. So and then he published the book Kedah Tua, the new narrative. So from there, from that research, he made a new narrative, meaning that before this, we understand that when we find, for example, temple, candi, or Hindu Buddha relics, it means that all the peninsula embrace that kind of religion. But their research found that it's different. Actually, it's more about the coastal part of the peninsula, but the insular one, the inner part, still animistic because we cannot find any traces of these old relics in the inner part. So it changed how the narrative of history. Okay. So and then I want to introduce you to this book. Maybe any one of you have read this book? It's just a small book by Barbara Watson Andaya and Leonard Andaya. So the Andayas, two Andaya here. So they wrote History of Malaysia. So if you're a student of history, nobody from history department here? No. So I can say anything. So if you study history, actually this is one of the main reference lah for Malaysian history. So it first published in 1982. So it's widely regarded lah. So it's quite hard to find any PhD thesis on history that don't have this name, Andaya. So it helps explain the Malaysian history, including the latest edition one. This one is a third edition. I think they are working on the fourth edition because these two Andayas, they're still living, still alive. I think they came last year to Malaysia. So this from last week. So just to touch on some aspect of Malaysian history, like I said that I will not touch every aspect of Malaysian history because it's too long. I will take maybe more than 2 months of lecture to finish. So I'll touch briefly on Malay society, the coming of British, Chinese and Indian workers, and also the birth of nationalism. So this is one of the good books on Malay society before the colonial period started. The Protected Malay States by Emile Carr. This also I think will be out of print, so very hard to find. So actually, Andaya, the previous book, it traces the origin of the Malays from the Austronesian migration from Taiwan. So Malay society actually is famous for the culture of merantau. Merantau means migrating lah. So because before this we don't have any national boundary. So it's archipelagic people that travel across the island. So actually the Malay people is very mobile and they are migrating from one island to island. And then there's also influx of people from Indonesia. Actually there's no line actually between us and Indonesia before the colonial period. We treat them as our people and we are the same people. So during this time, most of the subsistence come from the agricultural produce, rice, as well as vegetables and fruits. And also there's also some trading from jungle produce and also mining. Actually, mining is a very old and traditional industry in the Malay world. So, but of course, they are using the more primitive method, but they if you read the historical document, it's very early. They even cannot trace the initial, when does it start, because if you find a start, then suddenly you find earlier earlier start. Then if you say that, oh, it start from here, and then you find another earlier, so actually maybe it's probably eternal time. So actually there's a lot of mining for tin and gold in Peninsula Malaya at the time. So the Malay political society, the impact was a sultan, and the system is called kerajaan. Kerajaan means the existence of raja. So if you want to understand the kerajaan system, this is a good book lah by Anthony Milner. He's an Australian researcher. Because many of the books, if written by Westerner, they tend to compare what is the local system and the Western system. But Milner, he used a different approach. He take Hikayat and Malay sources to use that to build the kerajaan system. Actually, you can interrupt me if you don't agree or you think you are wrong or you have your own opinion. So I asked ChatGPT on British colonialism in Malaya. And then it said British colonialism in Malaya began in 1786, where the British East Indian Company acquired Penang from the Sultan of Kedah, followed by the founding of Singapore in 1819. So I actually don't agree with what ChatGPT said, because I think it's wrong. The British East Indian Company did not acquire Penang, so there's no evidence. There's no treaty. I'll talk more about that. But the most important thing, I think, ChatGPT also left out the Bangkok Treaty in 1874. That is actually the turning point where the British, before this, British already create a settlement when they came. They create a settlement in Pulau Pinang, and then Anglo-British treaty with the Dutch, and then they took Malacca, and then they go to Singapore. That all actually not a state, it's a settlement, but later it becomes state. So actually, if you read Roland Bonney, he do a study on this Penang Kedah thing. So who agree that Penang is actually part of Kedah? No? So actually, from historical point of view, Pulau Pinang actually is part of Kedah Sultanate. And then Francis Light came in 1786. When he came, there is no formal treaty. So even at that time, the British government, they are not agree with what been happening lah. There's no formal treaty, no legal basis for Francis Light. Actually is a country trader. He's not a government official. He's a country trader to take the island. So Bonney said that this was a premature, illegal, and without a formal treaty. So in other words, it was stolen from the Sultanate of Kedah. So but of course, right now it's already become a state, and we have a constitution. So that's a different story. I'm saying in the historical sense. So that's why I wrote in the Journal of History that I also agree with the view that actually what's happened is Francis Light took that island without a formal treaty lah. Because based on the research, there's no treaty. You cannot find a treaty. There's some letters from Light with the Sultan of Kedah. It's called Light Letters. It's already being digitized. You can read it online or not. There's no formal treaty. It's just a letters, correspondence between the two. So during British era also, they import Chinese and Indian workers, but actually Chinese and Indian already in Malaya before the British, but it's not in the same volume lah. Actually, even the Arab traders has come to Malaya before Islam. So before Islam, actually there's already an Arab traders. So there's a European coming, Chinese, Indian, all people already are coming in. But during the British colonialism, this type of migration becomes structural lah, because in mining and also agriculture. And then most of the Indian workers are coming from Jaffna Tamil, from Sendai, because the British think that they were proficient in English, so they come to work as a colonial administrative system. And then many of them also came as a cheap labor to work in the back then is rubber plantation in the Kangani system and also in the indentured labor system. And then after sometimes nationalism came to our country. So this is the time after actually nationalism already arose in the peninsula before the coming of the Japanese, because many of the analysts tend to say that the Japanese came, and then when the Japanese defeated British so easily, just a few days they managed to take the peninsula and then take Singapore. So it looks like the British was not very invincible lah. It can easily be defeated by an Asian culture. But actually nationalism born before that. If we read the work of Hu Kei Kim, the late Hu Kei Kim, he passed away a few years back. There's a very good books. The title is Malay Society. You can read it in the library lah. In bookstore, I think doesn't sell anymore, by Pelando Publication. He said that actually the nationalism that existed in back then Malaya is an indigenous one, coming from the local schools. Back then there's a local religious school, madrasah and everything. That is where the nationalism came in. And also it's turbocharged by the event that happening around the world. Also there's a lot of Malay students coming back from Middle East, so they tend to have a more reformist ideology. They want to reform their culture, they want to improve the well-being of their nations. They are called kaum muda. So during the Japanese occupation, this become more entrenched because the Japanese keep on the propaganda, Asian for Asia. Yeah, so we want to get rid of this British imperialism. So on 5 Safar 1377, that is actually the date, because back then it's still using the Islamic calendar, but the normal calendar one is 31st August 1957 that we get our Merdeka lah. So this is some of our national achievement lah. One of it that I found most interesting is the ICT one lah. But I think it started when we found that multimedia super corridor. If you remember back then, they built Cyberjaya. That become the catalyst of the what we see right now. There are so many animations that coming out. That's come from the what was launched in 1996, the MSC, Multimedia Super Corridor. And also we also make some good strides in terms of aerospace and satellite. Actually, there's some of our researcher also was part of the UN aerospace research and everything. So this is the famous one lah. Dr. Sheikh Muzaffar Shukor that become to be the first Malaysian astronaut lah. And I think also automotive, although maybe some people maybe not agree, because to sustain the automotive industry, they have to build some barrier lah to from outside companies to protect the national company. So whenever we want to buy a Honda, very expensive, so people will buy Perodua and Proton instead lah. This is actually a historical artifact, Perodua Kancil. Who have a chance to drive Perodua Kancil? Actually, Perodua Kancil is my first car when I learned how to drive. But I think nobody drive this one anymore, right? So in 1998, they dropped a Proton Wira in the North Pole. So guess what happened to the car? Any guess? What happened to the car? Is it still there? Or actually they take it back lah, because you cannot litter around, so you have to take the trash back. So it's right now I think in Kelana Jaya. And also we have a Petronas lah. I think Petronas is the biggest brand of Malaysia, with footprint of 100 countries and workforce of 50,000 employees. So I think Petronas have come with 50-year journey. So this year will be 51 journey of Petronas. So in conclusion, Merdeka is not a celebration of independence, but also the reflection of history lah. So whenever we think about Merdeka, we should also think about history and how the country was born. And then we also need to realize that the history is not static, and we are part of the history. Okay, that's the end. So thank you.